a real victim of Jeffrey Epstein. The reason you don't see me in the news is because I am a real victim. Real victims are not being represented by attorneys or in the media. I was trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor by Deborah Palfrey, the DC madam. I was a student at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. in 2002. I answered an ad in the city paper. The ad was ambiguous. Deborah was professional. I thought I was going on a real job interview. Instead, I was drugged and raped by Paul Hung. I tried to tell Deborah what happened, but something she said made me realize she knew what happened. At that point, they had my driver's license, and I did not know what to do or where to go for help. At that point, I was driven by Jonathan Luna to the Bethesda Marriott on Pook's Hill, where Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor drugged and raped me. I have tried to get help. I called the police. I was abducted for 2 weeks. I was moved from Washington, D.C. by Ed Norris, who was the superintendent of the Maryland State Police. He is now an actor on the show The Wire and has a radio show. My name is Jessica Collins. I live in Virginia. Today is September the 3rd, 2019. If anything happens to me, it's because this information is true, and I have a lot more information about who I was trafficked to in the government, people who are in the White House today. If you could redistribute this video, please save it and redistribute it. If anything happens to me, at least I have this out. I have been threatened. My car was disabled by a government employee when the Jeffrey Epstein news broke. I have been without a vehicle for 40 days. I don't know what else to say. Please save this video. Please redistribute it. Please try and spread it. There is no way that this is going to get out there in the media unless we, the American people, do the work. The government is involved, and I was trafficked for nearly 17 years. Please try to help by redistributing this, tweeting it, talking about it. I'll do everything that I can. Thank you for listening. I hope that together we can get to the bottom of this and hold the criminals accountable. I have been reporting that I have been being sex trafficked to various agencies beginning in 2003. The first agency I had reported to was called SWAP, Sex Workers Outreach Project. Sex workers are nothing more than sex trafficked victims by a nicer name. It's still illegal. They told me that they could test me for AIDS and give me condoms. I've already said in the first video what happened to me when I answered an ad, which is coercion. A lot of these legal terms were things that I didn't understand until recently, when my daughter, who was also trafficked and subjected to a lot of the same circumstances as myself. I am a real victim of the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring, and it didn't end with him or begin with him. Sam Kubba, who is a Saudi national, I believe. That's at least what I think he had told me. He ran for Congress of Virginia in 2014. He was in the movie Fahrenheit 9/11, making money off of the buildup of Iraq after the Iraqi war. He's the first person that raped me as a college student. That was before I answered the Deborah Palfrey ad. The reason that I have been raped so many times is because I am also a victim of child pedophiles, and that's how that happens, repeatedly. If there's not going to be justice, then at least the truth will be told, even if, you know, they have so much power, and the people that I've been trafficked to are powerful people, are in the White House. I haven't seen Trump myself. I know a lot of people were hoping that I could implicate him, but I can't. He seems to be into blonde-haired women, and I'm not a blonde-haired woman. I know that in 2005, I went to Gloria Allred because I was raped by the owner of a rehab that I was sent to by an attorney, Sam Perkins in Washington, D.C., who is a person who trafficked me, and was raped by the owner of the South Coast Recovery, Dennis Larkin. I went to Gloria Allred, and she refused to help. So when she's representing victims nowadays, I don't trust her. I've called Kaplan, Heckler, and Fink. They told me the next thing in the process would be to set up a 6-hour interview, either by Skype or to go to their office, and they mysteriously can't seem to return calls. You know, Sam Perkins, the attorney, took me to his vacation home in Cape May, and I can't remember a thing about it. Actually, that's not exactly true. I can remember very vague details, but the rest of it is absent, and that is very frustrating to realize. Yeah, I remember making the arrangements to go there. I remember an intersection of the town. I remember a very quaint little breakfast inn that we went to, where I had eggs Benedict for the first time. But the rest of the trip there with him, I have no recollection of. That's what I had put in that video too, was the first person who raped me in front of both of my children, Sam Kubba, who I thought was a Saudi national. He's an architect. In the movie Fahrenheit 9/11, you know, he's never been held accountable. Among other high-level prominent politicians was Joe Biden. In 2003, I believe it was 2003. It could have been 2004, but I am fairly certain it was 2003. I was approximately 23 or 24 at the latest at the time. And so Joe Biden took me on a commercial flight when he was a senator. I believe it was 2003, possibly as late as 2004, to Manzanillo, Mexico, to an all-inclusive resort for 3 days. He reserved our stay under the premise that we were newlyweds, so that he could get a discount. On the way there, he kept holding my hand in public. I told him that I did not feel comfortable with that and to please stop. While we were at the resort, you know, it was his time, so I had to obey whatever his desires and wishes were. But on the flight, there and back, it was very bothersome to be seen in public with a man so obviously much older than myself, and very, very uncomfortable. And so I requested that he stop, and he would not stop. He kept doing it. He did it on the flight back, and he told me verbatim, "Good luck getting back without a passport." He didn't pay me at that time. He tried to leave me in Mexico. I've also lived in New Mexico. So he tried to leave me in Mexico and told me, he said, good luck getting back without your passport, without a passport, because I didn't have a passport at all. And so the flight was commercial. It was a smaller airplane. We were sitting together. That was one of the places where he was holding my hand, and I was really disturbed by it and asked him to stop, because I considered the travel time my time and not his paid time. At the time, I had a Bank of America bank account. That was some of the information that True News gathered from me. Bank of America, under the name Jessica Lee, Leigh Collins. The flight to Manzanillo, I believe there was a connecting flight in Texas. So there would be flight records for Jessica Collins in the year 2003 to the final destination of Manzanillo, Mexico. Once I returned home, I changed my flight. The counter girls at the airline were nice enough to help me. And even though he tried to leave me, they helped me get back. He still had not paid me as promised. And so I called him, and he did agree to send the funds. It was around $2,000. It was 2,000 some odd hundred. And I believe, from the best of my recollection, that was transferred into my bank account, my Bank of America bank account. At the time, I went by Taylor of DC. That was basically my first, middle, and last name, Taylor of DC. And so my email account at the time was taylorofdc@gmail.com. I also had one at hushmail.com. But because Hushmail was so difficult to utilize, I was given the beta version of Google Voice. I was invited by somebody who's high up in Google now, at Apple specifically. I have a lot more information that I shared, but what I'm doing is needing to use the resources that I have that are being made extremely difficult. Internet going down. And so the reason that I'm doing these videos this way in piecemeal is in order to get the upload.